The war room of the Galactic Coalition Command was quiet except for the soft hum of holographic displays. Admiral Zareth of the Velthari species stood at the center, his blue crystalline skin reflecting the light from 1,000 stars on the tactical map. Around him sat the representatives of 12 allied species, each one bearing the weight of a conflict that had lasted for 3 standard cycles. "The Void Reapers have taken the Nexus Station," Zareth announced, his voice carrying the weight of defeat. "Our fleet cannot hold the Orion sector. We need to retreat." The representatives murmured among themselves. The Void Reapers were not like any enemy they had faced before. They were machines of unknown origin, without mercy, without negotiation, and without end. Their ships consumed entire worlds for fuel, and their armies numbered in the billions. "There is one option we have not considered," said Counselor Myra of the Theshan people. Her silver eyes moved across the room. "The humans." The room fell silent. Humans, the newest species to join the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 40 cycles ago. They were considered young, reckless, and strange. Their bodies were soft and breakable. Their lifespans were short. They had no natural weapons, no armored skin, no telepathy. And yet, there was something about them that made the older species nervous. "The humans have only 3 ships in our sector," Admiral Zareth said. "What can 3 ships do against a fleet of thousands?" "Perhaps nothing," Counselor Myra replied. "But I have heard stories about their captain, the one they call Marcus Cole." Captain Marcus Cole sat in his quarters aboard the USS Defiant, reading a worn paperback book. The cover showed a knight fighting a dragon. His crew called him old-fashioned for reading physical books, but Cole found comfort in the weight of paper in his hands. It reminded him of Earth, of his grandfather's library, of simpler times before humanity reached for the stars. A knock came at his door. "Come in," he said, not looking up. Lieutenant Sarah Chen entered, her expression serious. "Captain, we've received a priority message from Coalition Command. They're requesting our presence at an emergency summit." Cole closed his book and set it aside. "Let me guess, the Void Reapers." "Yes, sir. They've taken Nexus Station. The Coalition is talking about full retreat from the sector." Cole stood and walked to the small window that showed the endless void of space. Stars that had burned for billions of years, civilizations that had risen and fallen, and now a new enemy threatened to end it all. "Prepare the ship," he said quietly. "We'll attend the summit." The meeting took place on the Coalition's flagship, a massive vessel called the Eternal Hope. Cole found the name ironic given the hopeless faces that greeted him when he entered the war room. He was accompanied by Chen and his chief engineer, a large man named Jackson who had hands like hammers and a heart just as strong. "Captain Cole," Admiral Zareth said, "thank you for coming. I apologize that we meet under such circumstances." Cole nodded respectfully. "Admiral, I've reviewed the tactical data you sent. The situation is challenging." "Challenging?" laughed General Crox of the Ripthari, a massive lizard-like being with scales as thick as armor. "We are facing extinction, human. Your species has only been in space for a blink of an eye. What could you possibly understand about war on this scale?" Cole did not rise to the insult. He had faced prejudice before. Humans were always the newcomers, always underestimated. "With respect, General, my species has been at war with itself for thousands of years. We have a long history of surviving against impossible odds." "This is not some primitive conflict with sticks and stones," Crox growled. "The Void Reapers cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be frightened. They do not stop." "Neither do we," Cole replied simply. The room fell quiet. There was something in the human's eyes that made even General Crox pause. It was not arrogance or bravado. It was something deeper, something that the older species had perhaps forgotten in their long existence. Admiral Zareth stepped forward. "Captain Cole, we called you here because we have heard about your record. The Battle of Proxima, where you held off a pirate fleet with a single destroyer. The rescue of the Velthari colony ship, where you flew into an asteroid field that our computers said was impossible to navigate. You seem to have a talent for surviving situations that should be fatal. Cole smiled slightly. My crew does the hard work, Admiral. I just point them in the right direction. We need more than direction now, Counselor Myra said. We need a miracle. Cole looked at the tactical display showing the Void Reaper fleet. Thousands of ships, each one a weapon of destruction. And at the center, the Nexus Station, now a factory producing more enemy vessels every hour. Tell me about the station, Cole said. Its design, its weaknesses. The Nexus Station was built by the architects, a species that vanished long before any of us achieved spaceflight, Zareth explained. It has a central power core that provides energy to this entire sector. When the Void Reapers took it, they gained access to nearly unlimited power. And if that power core was destroyed? The representatives looked at each other. The station would be destroyed, Zareth said, but reaching the core is impossible. The station has over 100 levels of defense systems, and the Void Reapers have added their own. Any attack would be destroyed before it got within 1,000 kilometers. What about from the inside? Cole asked. General Croc snorted. The station's shields prevent any teleportation, and even if you could get inside, you would face an army of Void Reaper drones. It would be suicide. I didn't ask if it would be easy, Cole said. I asked if it was possible. There was a long silence. Finally, Counselor Myra spoke. There is one way. The station has ancient maintenance tunnels that were never sealed. They were designed to allow repair crews access to the core, but they are narrow, dangerous, and filled with automated defenses. How narrow? Too narrow for most species. Even the smallest Theshan could not navigate them. Cole looked at his team. Chen was small, agile, trained in close combat. Jackson was too large, but his technical skills were unmatched. An idea began to form in Cole's mind. How close can you get me to the station without being detected? He asked. Admiral Zareth frowned. With the right approach vector, perhaps within 50 kilometers, but that is still too far. Not for a shuttle running silent, Cole said. I've done atmospheric drops on Earth that were more dangerous. 50 kilometers is nothing. You would go yourself? Counselor Myra asked, her silver eyes wide. Someone has to, and I'm not asking anyone to do something I wouldn't do myself. The representatives began to argue among themselves. Some said the plan was madness. Others said it was their only hope. General Crocs laughed and called humans insane, but Cole noticed that the Ripthari's laughter held a note of respect. After an hour of debate, Admiral Zareth raised his hand for silence. Captain Cole, if we allow you to attempt this mission, and you fail, we will have lost one of our few human vessels. Are you willing to accept that risk? Cole thought of the billions of lives in the Orion sector. The families, the children, the civilizations that would be consumed by the Void Reapers. He thought of Earth, still so young and vulnerable. If the coalition fell, humanity would be next. I accept the risk, he said, but I'm not planning to fail. That night Cole sat alone in his quarters, writing a letter. It was an old tradition, one that soldiers had followed for centuries. A letter to be delivered if he did not return. Dear Sarah, he wrote, if you're reading this, things didn't go according to plan, but I want you to know that what we did today mattered. We showed them what humans are made of, not our bodies, which are weak compared to theirs, not our technology, which is still catching up, but our spirit, the thing inside us that refuses to give up, even when the odds are impossible. He paused, looking at the words. They seemed too simple for what he was trying to say, but sometimes simple words were the most true. Take care of the crew, he continued. They're the best people I've ever served with. And if you make it back to Earth, tell my daughter I love her. Tell her that her father died doing what he believed was right. Cole signed the letter and sealed it. Then he stood, put on his uniform, and walked to the bridge. There was work to be done. The crew of the Defiant gathered in the main hangar. Cole stood before them, just over 100 souls who had followed him across the stars. They were young and old, men and women, each one a volunteer who had chosen to serve. "You all know why we're here," Cole said. "The Coalition is losing this war. If we don't act now, the Void Reapers will take everything. Every planet, every station, every life." He looked at their faces, seeing fear and determination in equal measure. "I'm not going to lie to you. What I'm asking is dangerous. Some of us might not come back, but I believe we can do this. Not because we're stronger or smarter than the enemy, but because we're human, and humans don't know how to quit." A young ensign raised his hand. "Captain, what exactly is the plan?" Cole smiled. "The plan is simple. We're going to fly straight into hell, blow up the biggest target we can find, and fly back out. Any questions?" There was a moment of silence. Then Lieutenant Chen laughed. "I always wanted to visit hell, sir. I hear it's warm this time of year." The tension broke. The crew laughed, some nervously, others with genuine amusement. Cole felt a warmth in his chest. These were his people, his family, and he would do everything in his power to bring them home. "All right," he said, "let's get to work. We launch in 6 hours." The preparations were intense. Chen selected a small team for the ground assault. Herself, 2 Marines named Rodriguez and Kim, and a demolitions expert called Murphy. Jackson worked on the shuttle, stripping away everything unnecessary to make it as small and fast as possible. Cole reviewed the station schematics over and over, memorizing every tunnel, every junction, every possible route to the core. He studied the Void Reaper patrol patterns, looking for gaps in their defense. He ran simulations until his eyes burned and his mind felt like it would break. But he didn't stop, because stopping meant thinking about what could go wrong. And Marcus Cole had learned long ago that fear was a luxury he couldn't afford. 6 hours passed like 6 minutes. Before Cole knew it, he was standing in the shuttle bay, looking at the small vessel that would carry them to their fate. The Coalition fleet had gathered in the distance, ready to provide what distraction they could. Admiral Zareth appeared on the viewscreen. "Captain Cole, the fleet is in position. We will draw their attention as long as we can." "Thank you, Admiral. Whatever happens today, tell the Coalition that humanity was proud to fight beside them." Zareth's crystalline face seemed to soften. "Good luck, Captain. May the stars guide your path." The connection ended. Cole turned to his team. Chen, Rodriguez, Kim, and Murphy. 5 humans against an army of machines. The odds were laughable. But then again, humans had always loved a good underdog story. "All right," Cole said, climbing into the shuttle. "Let's go make history." The shuttle slipped through space like a ghost, its engines running on minimal power to avoid detection. Cole sat at the controls, his hands steady despite the fear that coiled in his stomach. Behind him, his team checked their weapons one last time. "Approaching the 50-kilometer mark," Chen reported. "No sign of detection." Cole nodded, keeping his eyes on the station ahead. The Nexus station was massive, a sphere of metal and light that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Void Reaper ships swarmed around it like insects around a hive. "Starting final approach," Cole said. "Hold on tight, this is going to get rough." He pushed the shuttle forward, diving toward the station at an angle that would have made any normal pilot sick. The Coalition fleet began their attack, drawing the attention of the Void Reaper ships. Explosions lit up the void of space. "They're not taking the bait," Kim said, pointing at the scanner. "Some of those ships are still guarding the station." "Then we'll have to be faster," Cole replied. He pushed the engines harder, feeling the shuttle shake with the strain. The station grew larger in the viewscreen. A Void Reaper patrol ship turned toward them, its weapons charging. "We've been spotted," Rodriguez shouted. "I see it," Cole said calmly. Murphy, prepare the countermeasures. The patrol ship fired. Cole threw the shuttle into a spin, avoiding the energy blast by meters. Murphy launched a spread of decoys, filling the space around them with false signals. 10 kilometers to the station, Chen reported. 5-3. The shuttle shook as another blast grazed its hull. Alarms screamed. Cole gritted his teeth and kept flying. 1 kilometer, there's the maintenance port. Cole aimed for a small opening in the station's hull, barely visible among the massive structures. It was going to be close, very close. Hold on, he shouted. The shuttle shot into the maintenance port like a bullet through a needle's eye. Metal scraped against metal, sparks flew, and then, suddenly, they were inside. Cole brought the shuttle to a hard stop, his heart pounding. Everyone okay? Define okay, Murphy groaned, rubbing his head where he'd hit it against the wall. We're alive, Chen said, already moving toward the exit. That's okay enough for me. They had made it inside the station, but the hard part was just beginning. The maintenance tunnels were exactly as Counselor Myra had described, narrow, dark, and filled with danger. Cole led the way, a small flashlight strapped to his wrist. Behind him, the team moved in single file, their weapons ready. These tunnels haven't been used in centuries, Murphy whispered. The Void Reapers probably don't even know they exist. Let's hope it stays that way, Cole replied. They moved through the station like shadows, avoiding the main corridors where Void Reaper drones patrolled. The machines were everywhere, their red eyes scanning for intruders. But the tunnels gave the humans an advantage. They were too small for the drones to enter. After an hour of crawling and climbing, they reached a junction. Cole checked his map. The core should be 2 levels up, he said, but there's a problem. When isn't there? Rodriguez muttered. The last section of tunnel collapses into an open area. We'll be exposed for about 100 meters before we can reach the core chamber. Chen looked at the map. Is there another way? Not one that we can reach in time. The Coalition can only hold the Void Reaper's attention for another 2 hours. Then we go fast, Murphy said, patting his pack of explosives. Very fast. Cole nodded. They had no choice. All right, on my signal we run. Don't stop for anything until we reach the core chamber. Understood? Everyone nodded. Cole took a deep breath, said a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening, and stepped into the open. The next few minutes were chaos. Alarms blared. Drones appeared from every direction. The team ran, firing their weapons at anything that moved. Rodriguez took a hit to his shoulder but kept going. Kim threw a grenade that took out a cluster of drones. Almost there, Chen shouted, pointing at a massive door ahead. Cole reached the door first, slamming his hand against the control panel. Nothing happened. It's locked, he said. Murphy, can you override it? Murphy pushed past him, connecting a device to the panel. Give me 30 seconds. We don't have 30 seconds, Rodriguez yelled, still firing at the approaching drones. Cole grabbed a weapon from his belt and turned to face the enemy. The drones were closing in, their weapons charging. This was it. Either they got through that door or they died here. Come on, Murphy muttered, his fingers flying over the device. Come on, come on. The door slid open. Go, Cole shouted, everyone inside. They poured through the door, which sealed behind them just as a wave of drone fire hit it. The metal glowed red but held. That won't hold them for long, Chen said. Then we better work fast, Cole replied, looking at the power core. It was beautiful in a way. A sphere of pure energy, pulsing with light that seemed to come from the heart of a star. Ancient machines surrounded it, still functioning after millions of years. The architects had built something incredible here. It was a shame it had to be destroyed. Murphy, set the charges, Cole ordered. We need a 15-minute delay. That should give us enough time to get back to the shuttle. Murphy nodded and got to work, placing explosives around the core with careful precision. Cole watched the door, waiting for the inevitable breach. "Captain," Chen said quietly, standing beside him, "even if we make it out, the Coalition fleet might not survive the Void Reaper counterattack." "I know," Cole said, "but if we destroy this core, it will cripple the Void Reaper's power supply. They'll be vulnerable. The Coalition can regroup and fight back." "And us?" "The shuttle was damaged in the crash. It might not make it out of the station before the explosion." Cole looked at her. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, who had served with him for 3 years, who had saved his life more times than he could count, who deserved to see Earth again. "We'll make it," he said. "I promise." It was a promise he wasn't sure he could keep, but sometimes hope was the only weapon you had. "Charges set," Murphy announced. 15 minutes and counting." "Then let's move," Cole said, "back the way we came." They opened the door and stepped into a nightmare. The corridor was filled with Void Reaper drones, more than Cole had ever seen in one place. Their red eyes turned toward the humans in perfect unison. "Well," Rodriguez said, raising his weapon, "this is going to be fun." The fight back to the shuttle was the longest 15 minutes of Cole's life. They fought through waves of drones, each step forward costing them blood and bullets. Kim fell when a drone's blade caught her leg. Rodriguez carried her on his back, still firing with his good arm. Murphy took a hit to the chest that should have killed him, but his body armor held. Chen moved like a dancer, her blade cutting through drones with deadly grace. And Cole led them forward, always forward, refusing to let them stop. When they finally reached the shuttle bay, they had 4 minutes left. "Get everyone inside," Cole ordered. "I'll get the engines running." He jumped into the pilot seat and started the startup sequence. The shuttle groaned and shuddered. Warning lights flashed across every panel. "The engines are damaged," Jackson's voice came over the comm from the Defiant. "You need to bypass the safety protocols." "Already on it," Cole said, his fingers moving faster than he thought possible. "Come on, old girl, don't give up on me now." The engines roared to life. Cole didn't waste time with relief. He grabbed the controls and pushed the shuttle toward the exit. 2 minutes, Murphy shouted from the back. The maintenance port was blocked by debris from their crash landing. Cole didn't slow down. "Everyone hold on." He punched through the debris, metal screaming against metal. The shuttle burst into open space, spinning wildly. Cole fought to regain control, pulling them away from the station with everything the engines had. 1 minute. The Void Reaper ships were still engaged with the Coalition fleet. None of them noticed the small human shuttle racing away from the station. 30 seconds. Cole could see the Defiant in the distance, its hull scarred from battle but still flying. Home. They were almost home. 10 seconds. The Nexus station exploded. The blast was unlike anything Cole had ever seen. A wave of energy expanded outward, consuming Void Reaper ships like they were made of paper. The shockwave hit the shuttle, sending it tumbling through space. Cole lost consciousness. When he woke, he was in the medical bay of the Defiant. Chen was standing over him, her face covered in bandages but wearing a smile. "We made it," she said. Cole sat up, ignoring the pain that shot through his body. "The others?" "All alive. Kim's leg is bad, but she'll walk again. Rodriguez is already complaining about the food. Murphy says he's going to retire after this." Cole laughed, though it hurt. They had done it. Against all odds, they had done it. Admiral Zareth's face appeared on a screen beside his bed. "Captain Cole, on behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I want to thank you. The destruction of the Nexus station has crippled the Void Reaper fleet. Our forces are already pushing them back." "Just doing our job, Admiral," Cole said. "No," Zareth replied, his crystalline face serious. "What you did was far beyond duty. You gave us hope when we had none. The Coalition will not forget this." The transmission ended. Cole lay back in his bed, staring at the ceiling. They had won. But at what cost? The faces of those who had fallen during the battle flashed through his mind, good people who had given their lives for this victory. Chen seemed to sense his thoughts. They knew the risks, Captain. They chose to fight anyway. I know, Cole said quietly, but that doesn't make it easier. It's not supposed to be easy. That's what makes it mean something. Cole looked at her. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, who had stood beside him through hell and come out the other side. You know, when I wrote that letter, I wasn't sure I'd ever see you again. Chen raised an eyebrow. What letter? Never mind, Cole said, smiling slightly. It doesn't matter now. Outside the window, the stars continued their eternal dance. Somewhere out there, the Void Reapers were regrouping. The war was not over, but for now, for this moment, there was peace. And hope. 6 months later, the Galactic Coalition gathered for a ceremony unlike any they had held before. The war with the Void Reapers had turned after the destruction of the Nexus Station. The enemy was in retreat, their power broken, and at the center of this victory was a human who had done the impossible. Captain Marcus Cole stood in the Grand Hall of the Coalition, surrounded by representatives of every allied species. His uniform was crisp, his medals shining, but it was his eyes that drew attention. Those eyes had seen things that would haunt him forever, and yet they still held hope. Admiral Zareth stepped forward, holding a small crystal that pulsed with inner light. Captain Marcus Cole, for actions that go beyond the call of duty, for courage in the face of certain death, and for saving countless lives across the galaxy, the Galactic Coalition awards you the Star of the Architects. A murmur went through the crowd. The Star of the Architects was the highest honor the Coalition could bestow. In all the centuries of the Coalition's existence, it had been awarded only 12 times. Cole would be the first human to receive it. Zareth placed the crystal around Cole's neck. From this day forward, let it be known that humans stand among the greatest heroes of our galaxy. Let your name be remembered for as long as stars burn in the void. Captain Marcus Cole, you have earned legendary recognition through your heroism. Cole bowed his head. When he looked up, his eyes were moist. This honor belongs to everyone who fought beside me, to my crew who followed me into hell, to the Coalition forces who gave everything to buy us time, and to those who didn't make it home. They're the real heroes. He paused, gathering his thoughts. When humanity first reached the stars, many species looked at us and saw a young, primitive race. They wondered what we could possibly offer to a galaxy filled with ancient civilizations. Today, I hope we've shown them the answer. He looked out at the crowd, at the faces of beings from 100 different worlds. We offer our spirit, the thing inside us that refuses to give up, no matter how dark things get, the belief that tomorrow can be better than today, the willingness to sacrifice everything for those we love. His voice grew stronger. The Void Reapers thought they could break us. They were wrong, because you can't break something that only gets stronger under pressure. And that's what humans are, forged in adversity, tempered by struggle, unbreakable. The Grand Hall erupted in applause. Species that had doubted humanity now stood in respect. General Crox, who had once laughed at the idea of humans in battle, was the first to salute. After the ceremony, Cole walked through the gardens of the Coalition headquarters. The plants were strange and beautiful, species from across the galaxy growing together in harmony. He found a quiet bench and sat down, finally alone with his thoughts. A shadow fell over him. He looked up to see Counselor Myra, her silver eyes soft with understanding. "May I join you, Captain?" "Please." She sat beside him, looking out at the garden. "You seem troubled for someone who just received the greatest honor in the galaxy." Cole sighed. "I keep thinking about what comes next. The Void Reapers aren't defeated, just weakened. They'll come back eventually, and when they do, you're afraid you won't be there to stop them." He nodded. "I'm just one person, one very human person with a short lifespan and too many scars." Myra smiled. Captain, do you know why the Star of the Architects was created? I always assumed it was to honor great warriors. No, it was created to inspire them. The architects understood something that many species forget. It's not the heroes themselves that matter most. It's the example they set, the spark they light in others. She turned to face him. Today, every young human who dreams of space is thinking about what you did. Every child who looks up at the stars is imagining themselves in your place. You haven't just won a battle, Captain. You've changed what humanity means to the galaxy. Cole considered her words. He thought about his own childhood, reading stories about knights and dragons, dreaming of adventure. He thought about the letter he had written to Sarah Chen, the one that talked about showing the galaxy what humans were made of. I never wanted to be a legend, he said quietly. The best ones never do, Myra replied. That's what makes them worthy of the title. She stood and offered her hand. Come, Captain, your crew is waiting. I believe there's a celebration in your honor. Cole took her hand and rose. One more party won't kill me, I suppose. After everything you've survived, I doubt anything could. He laughed, and for the first time in months, it felt genuine. The celebration aboard the Defiant was unlike anything the crew had ever experienced. Representatives from a dozen species had come to honor the humans who had changed the course of the war. There was music and laughter and more food than anyone could eat. Cole made his way through the crowd, shaking hands and accepting congratulations, but his eyes kept searching for one person. He found Lieutenant Chen on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. She was still wearing bandages on her face, but she was smiling. Hiding from your own party? She asked. Looking for someone, he replied. Found her. Chen turned to face him. Captain. Marcus, he corrected. After what we've been through, I think you can call me Marcus. She smiled. Marcus, I wanted to thank you for getting us home. I should be thanking you. If you hadn't held off those drones while Murphy set the charges, we'd all be dead. That's what teammates do. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Finally, Cole spoke. I've been offered a promotion. Admiral Zareth wants me to lead a new task force, human and coalition ships working together. That's wonderful, Chen said. You deserve it. The thing is, I'd need a good first officer. Someone I trust completely. Someone who isn't afraid to tell me when I'm being an idiot. Chen raised an eyebrow. Are you offering me a job, Captain? I'm offering you an adventure, Lieutenant. The war's not over. There's still a galaxy that needs saving, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather have watching my back. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled, and it was like the sun coming out after a storm. Well, she said, someone has to keep you from getting killed. Might as well be me. Cole grinned. That's what I was hoping you'd say. Behind them, the party continued. Music played and glasses clinked. But on the observation deck, two humans stood together, looking out at the infinite possibilities of space. They had faced the impossible and won. They had shown the galaxy what humanity was made of. And somewhere, in the vast darkness between stars, the Void Reapers were learning to fear a species they had once dismissed. The legend of Captain Marcus Cole had begun. 1 year later, the Defiant led a fleet of 50 ships through the final battle against the Void Reapers. The enemy had rebuilt their forces and launched a desperate assault on the Coalition's capital world. It was everything they had left, a last attempt to turn the tide of the war. Cole stood on the bridge of his ship, now bearing the title of Commodore. Around him, his crew worked with the precision of a well-oiled machine. They had come so far from the small destroyer that had first approached the Nexus station. Enemy fleet is engaging, First Officer Chen reported. Coalition forces are taking heavy losses. Signal all ships, Cole ordered. Formation Delta, we punch through their center and hit the command ship. The fleet moved as one, human and coalition vessels fighting side by side. They had learned from each other, combining the ancient wisdom of the older species with the bold innovation of humanity. The battle was fierce. Ships exploded on both sides. Friends were lost, but Cole never wavered. He led from the front, his ship always where the fighting was thickest. When the Void Reaper command ship finally fell, the enemy fleet broke. Their coordination shattered without their central hub. Within hours, the remaining Void Reapers had surrendered or fled. The war was over. Cole stood on the bridge, exhausted but triumphant. Around him, his crew cheered and embraced. They had done what many thought impossible. They had beaten an enemy that had threatened to consume the galaxy. Admiral Zareth's face appeared on the viewscreen. The old Velthari's crystalline features were lit with joy. "Commodore Cole, you have done it again. The Coalition owes you a debt that can never be repaid." Cole shook his head. "The debt is paid, Admiral. We're all part of the same galaxy now. Humans, Velthari, Thessians, Ripthari. When we stand together, there's nothing we can't overcome." "Wise words," Zareth said, "though I recall a certain young captain who once told me that humans don't know how to quit." Cole laughed. "We don't. It's both our greatest strength and our most annoying trait." "Indeed. The Coalition Council has a proposal for you when you're ready to hear it." "I'm listening." "We want to establish a new academy where young officers from all species can train together, learn from each other, build the bonds that will keep the galaxy united for generations to come. We would like you to lead it." Cole was surprised. An academy. He had spent his career in the field, fighting battles and leading crews. The idea of teaching seemed almost foreign. But then he thought about what Counselor Myra had said, about the spark that heroes light in others, about the example they set for those who come after. "I'd be honored, Admiral." Zareth nodded with satisfaction. "The Academy will be built on Earth. It seems fitting that the birthplace of humanity should become the training ground for the galaxy's future heroes." Earth, home. Cole hadn't been back in years. The thought of returning, of seeing the blue skies and green fields he had left behind, brought an unexpected emotion to his heart. "There's one condition," he said. "Name it." "Commander Chen comes with me. I can't build an academy without the best first officer in the fleet." Zareth smiled, or what passed for a smile on a face made of living crystal. "I think that can be arranged." The transmission ended. Cole turned to find Chen standing beside him, her expression a mixture of surprise and joy. "An academy," she said, "on Earth. Someone has to teach the next generation how to be heroes," Cole replied. "Might as well be us." Chen laughed. "Marcus Cole, teacher, I never thought I'd see the day." "Neither did I, but maybe it's time for a new adventure." He looked out the viewscreen at the stars. The same stars he had gazed at as a child, dreaming of the day he would explore them. Now he would help others do the same. "You know," Chen said quietly, "when I first joined your crew, I thought you were crazy. Flying into impossible situations, taking risks no sane captain would take. And now I know you're crazy, but I also know something else." She smiled. "You're the kind of crazy the galaxy needs." Cole smiled back. "Thank you, Chen, for everything." "Sarah," she corrected. "After what we've been through, I think you can call me Sarah." "Sarah it is." They stood together, watching the stars. Behind them, the crew of the Defiant prepared for the journey home. Ahead of them, a new chapter was about to begin. The war was over. The Void Reapers were defeated. And on a small blue planet called Earth, an academy would rise to train the heroes of tomorrow. Because that was what humans did. They looked at the impossible and found a way. They fell down and got back up. They faced the darkness and brought the light. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the legend of Captain Marcus Cole continued to grow. A legend that would inspire generations to come. A legend that proved what humanity was made of. Not strength of body or superior technology, but spirit, heart, the refusal to ever give up. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy, and it was a gift that would never stop giving. The stars burned on, eternal and bright, and among them humanity had found its place. Not just as members of the galactic community, but as legends. And this was only the beginning.